time, the next few months. So for 3 months, I didn't show up, okay? I was like, I was hiding somewhere because I didn't want to sing. And then one day this teacher caught me. He said, Swami asked you to sing, why are you not singing? So I said, sir, I don't know how to sing. What am I supposed to do here? So then you need to practice. You have to work hard. Because if Swami said you have to do something, then you have to do it. There's no two ways about it. So then he said, you practice and you come every week after practicing for a week, and then we'll sing. So for 4 months, I practiced one bhajan, okay? And every week I would go to him and he would say, not really, you're not good yet. So go back and... So the bhajan was this. Manamohana Nandala Manamohana Madhusudana Vrindavana Nandala Manamohana Nandala Manamohana Nandala Vrindavana Nandala Manamohana Madhusudana Vrindavana Nandala. Excuse me. So that was the bhajan, right? 4 months, and so got the opportunity to sing in front of Swami, and he was quite happy, and he would, he was very encouraging. All right, so that's how the journey started. Now, one thing to know is, as I said previously, the first thing was you have to know. I learned how to work hard, so I really put my heart and soul into it. And I almost did it to the extent that I started neglecting my studies. Okay. And I loved physics from very early on, but I was not doing physics anymore. Physics was not fun for me anymore. I just wanted to do music and music and music. And so it was hurting my studies as well. And so as it turned out, I went from singing once every 4 months to once every 2 months to once every month to then every day. Right? I would sing every day. And at some point, it was almost like a given. You would sing, you would be number 4 or number 5 or number 3 or number 2 in the bhajan list, and that's what would happen. So it was all working out really well. So one day I thought, my parents were here. They were visiting us. And so this is the second part of the lesson. You have to let things pass. And you have to not, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, you have to just let it go. Don't hold on to it because it affects you. It increases our ego. So that day my parents were there and I thought I'm going to sing a very high bhajan so that when my parents are sitting there, they can tap the person next to them and say, see, that's my son singing. Right? That was the goal. So I had made these plans. I practiced for a good month before that. I thought, now is the day of reckoning. Let's execute this. Right? So the bhajan was Shambho Shankara Deva Bhole Baba Mahadeva Sai Baba Mahadeva Hara Hara Gange Mahadeva Hara Hara Gange Mahadeva Hara Hara Gange Mahadeva. So that was the high line, right? So I was thinking, here you go, next line is the high line. I'm going to hit that line and then my parents can say to the person next to them, that's my son. There we go, right? And the moment I was going to sing that line, Swami stopped the talam or the beat. He just stopped right there. So what that means is that he's actually giving beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So he just stopped. So everybody around me stopped. Okay, and I was in bliss with my eyes closed, hoping to go to that next high line, but it never happened. It was like a heart attack, as I said this morning. It's like, what happened? The world seems to have changed around me very quickly. And it did. And Swami stopped me right there. So the lesson that I learned from there was that, bhajan again is not for show. It's not for making your ego go up and thinking that you're a great singer. There was millions of great singers sitting in that line there, right? There's great singers out there, but you get the opportunity, so you should be an instrument and do it to the best of your ability. So you have to let things pass. One beautiful incident that comes to mind is, again, the relationship that students have with Swami is a very interesting one. It's more like a parent and child relationship. So I had a senior of mine. Oh, by the way, yeah, there was one particular occasion where we had the opportunity to go to Swami's interview room and upstairs as well, where he used to live, And so we were cleaning up some stuff. And what was amazing was how small this place was. Okay, this was the old mandir, and it was a room, perhaps, I can't even, it's like the size of a bathroom, a small room with a bed, and Swami's clothes there, and there was these books up there. To me, it was a mind-blowing experience just to see where he lived. And he had a small bathroom next to him. And it was like, see, the whole world was waiting to see him, but look at his quarters. And he would say that he would not switch on the light very early on, because if that happened, the devotees would look at that light and get up early. So it was amazing. To me, what was amazing was that Swami is living so frugally, so bare is his living. And that was very inspiring to see that. And so I thought, okay, if Swami can live here, I can definitely sleep on the floor. What is the big deal, right? So, it really had a big effect on me. Anyway, so the story that I was going to tell you about was the relationship between students and Swami. I had a senior, and one day he was called to go to Swami's interview room, and he was asked to clean up a few things, okay? So Swami's upstairs in this small room, and then this boy was cleaning Swami's interview room with a bunch of other boys. So this boy had this, was like, wow, this is great, Swami's interview room, we can look at every place, it's such a nice place. And then he looked at the chair, like this, and he thought, wow, that's the chair that Swami sits on. I wonder how comfortable that chair is, right? Maybe I should try and sit on it, right? So, Swami's upstairs. So he said to this other boy, you stand there in the stairs, and you tell me when he's coming down, and then as soon as he comes, I'm going to get up and I'll leave. Okay, but be vigilant, okay? Because I'm going to check out how cool this chair is. So he goes there and he sat down. And he was explaining this to the other two boys. This is amazing. This is the best chair in the world. This is so comfortable. No wonder God sits on it, right? Or some such statement he made that. Now, Swami walks very quietly, and he's pretty short. So it's sometimes he just shows up and you don't know. And so that boy on the stairs, he was also, he was taking part in the joke, and then Swami's right next to him. He was angry. Eyes are red. Swami's really angry. And I've seen him angry, and it's not a pretty sight. He can really tear into you. Right? So on this occasion, this boy was like, okay, so he just moved away, and then Swami came to the room, and this boy was sitting on the chair. So then he thought for a while, and should he get up? Should he have Swami tell him to get up? What's the protocol here? So he didn't, and Swami looked at him with his eyes and was so angry. And then he said, very bad boy. Okay? And he said, the word he uses is Devadrohi. Okay? Devadrohi, which is a big word, which means you are a traitor to God. Right? So this boy was like, oh my God. And then in that instant, he got up. And he clutched Swami's feet. And he said, but Swami, this is only a chair. Right? After all, everything is Maya. This is only a chair. So Swami couldn't control himself. He started laughing himself. And he was like, so his anger melted away. He was like, you're right. It is only a chair. The story doesn't end here, by the way. So they went back, and this boy was sent back. He was only a few years ahead of me. So I had great fun hearing this. And then Swami went off to Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, there's this man who makes these very beautiful pieces of furniture for Swami. Mr. Nateshar is his name. Or I think he still does. But anyway, so Nateshar had made this nice jhula. So you might have seen it in some pictures, where Swami is sitting on that jhula. That's the picture. So the warden of that Vrindavan hostel was there with him. And Swami was there. And Swami was admiring that jhula. He was like, wow, it's such a beautiful jhula, nice embroidery, looks very comfortable, right? So then he turned to this warden and he said, do you know that boy? What's his name? And he said, yes, Swami, I know that boy. Where is he? Swami, he's here. Yeah, he's in the hostel. So he said, call him. So he came back running. And that boy then came into the interview room. And the Trai room. Trai Vrindavan is where they used to live. And then Swami said, see, how is that jhula to that boy? So he didn't get it, because he had just run in and he didn't get the whole question. He's like, Swami, jhula, it's good, Swami. Is it comfortable? So he said, yes, Swami, it looks very comfortable. Then he said, why don't you sit on it? So he said, sure, Swami, of course, I'm going to sit on it. So I think that's one implicit thing. If Swami says something, just do it. Don't question, just do it. Right? So he did. He sat on the jhula and he did a few of these. He said, Swami, very comfortable, very comfortable. He says, yes, I know. It is comfortable enough for God to sit in. Right? And so so it gives you a sense for the kind of relationship. It's not like God and devotee. It's more like your parent. You're trying to play pranks and jokes. I'm reminded of another incident. Again, some boys were slightly ahead of me. We used to get called for these cleaning duties every once in a while. So these guys were called. They were playing basketball. So they were in these track pants and sweating. And suddenly some boy came from Bandir and he said, X, Y, and Z. Go run there, Swami has some work for you. So they ran from the hostel. They ran, it was like 1.5 miles. They really sprinted. And then they go there, and so Swami says, okay, you clean that part, you clean this part, and the other boy, you clean that part. So it was done in 5 minutes. And then they said, Swami, done. So then he said, sit down. So at that point, and afterwards when somebody asked them, they were like, we were thinking, why did he call us for running 1.5 miles? For what? For just this 5 minutes? Right? So they were all thinking this, but they were not saying this. So then Swami said, good, you boys did very well. Thank you for, I'm just paraphrasing here, okay. Good, great work. So I'm going to give you some prasadam. So he created a laddu. And then he split the laddu in 3. And he threw one piece to one boy, second to the other, third to the other one. Right. So then they all took the laddu and went back. And then after an interview, typically what happens is that you exchange notes. What did you hear? What did you hear? And as it works out, most people hear very different things. So, but in this case, they were all thinking the same thing at the same time, which was very strange. So they were all thinking only one thought. And the thought was, Swami, we are these big boys, and postgraduates. You made us run from that basketball court to here, only a small piece of laddu. Isn't that fair? That was their thought. Let me finish the story though. But what had happened after he broke the laddu was, when he threw the laddu at them, they all got 3 full laddus. Okay. And it was hot. So there were these amazing incidents that would happen right in front of you. And it was an amazing time. But that's just the relationship that boys had with Swami. It was a nice time to be there. Now, coming back to a little more serious stuff, again, Swami will, when you are a boy, he's going to treat you like a boy. But when there is time to learn a lesson, he will make sure that you learn the lesson one way or the other. Living with Swami is not easy. It's one of the hardest things to do, because you have to walk a very straight line. He was talking about Sai Giri. And I know Sai fairly well because he was my teacher and we also knew him when he was a student. So if you ask Sai, he will say that living close to Swami was very, very hard, because your life is constrained completely. You're going only from point A to point B, nowhere in the middle. And you have to be even though you're very close to Swami. So they learned a lot of very interesting things. They learned how to control themselves. They learned how to control their impulses. They learned how to have full control over their senses. And that's something that is very important for us. And it's important for us in our spiritual growth as well. Okay, so moving on. How much time do I have? I'm done.
20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay. So here, I think it's important to just take a little bit of a step back and talk a little bit about some things that I learned from listening to Swami's discourses. Okay. As I said this morning, my appreciation for Swami was not this profound, but it has become a lot more after I've come out. When we were there, the only goal was to impress Swami in some way, or to be close to him, or to get that word from him, or to do X, Y, and Z for him. There was that thought of listening to what he's really saying was not. So, I can tell you an experience that happened. And again, this is something which is fairly close to my heart. It's a small experience, nothing profound really. But it showed me that there is an important thing that we have to do, in that we have to choose our sadhana. And Swami would say, yes, everybody is different, so you have to choose your own sadhana. So this is an incident which happened in about 2005. And I was doing my PhD in physics at Vanderbilt University, and I was preparing for my preliminary examinations. And for those of you who are familiar with the whole preliminary examination idea, is that you're tested on a wide variety of physics. You can be asked to go on the board and derive some pretty arcane and abstract thing. It's not an easy exam. You have to prepare for many, many, many months, and you don't know what's going to happen on that day. So I can see some faces laughing because they've gone through this, right? And it's a pressure cooker. But I can tell you, it was not as big as a pressure cooker as the bhajan group in Prashantini. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Okay. So I'm preparing for my exam, and I had prepared already for a few months. And then I remembered Swami said, go within. All the answers lie within. Right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to take Swami's word on this, and I am going to start meditating. I'm going to do Soham meditation every day. So I thought, I've got 1 month left, let me do that every day. So I started doing that, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And the progression was kind of interesting. As you go further and further into this process, a lot of the thoughts that come into your mind will vanish in a much more painless way. So after 15 days, it's a bit more calm. Your brain is a little calmer. So I did this for a month, and I was like, okay, Swami, I'm following your word. I mean, you need to show me something here, right? And this is an experiment, and I know the result. I hope you know the result as well, that something good has to happen. So do this. The day before the exam, I was feeling completely out of sorts. I was like, okay, Maxwell's equations, what is the crystal shape of silicon, what is this, what is that? And my brain was going just complete bonkers. So I thought, okay, I'm going to just give up, and I'm going to go and watch a movie. So I watched Ice Age 2. I went with a friend, we watched Ice Age 2, it was a good movie. It, put me to calm me down a little bit. Went back, and I did my meditation again. And in that meditation, after about 10 minutes, for some reason, this question started coming to me. And the question was, it was a very specific question. Okay, and the question kept on coming into my brain. I was like, okay, this new question, get out of my mind. I want to meditate. Finish the meditation, next day morning I get up again, same thing. First question, what is this? That was the question that comes in. And then at 11 a.m., after I finish my meditation, I show up in the hall. The advisor was there. There were 3 other professors. There was this one professor from Caltech. Those of you who are from the physics world know people from Caltech are slightly crazy. Okay. So So he said, I'm going to start the questioning. So I said, sure. So I prayed to Swami. I was like, all right, go for it. And he said, what is the crystal structure of silicon? Right? That was the first question. Now this was the same question that came to my mind the night before and the first thing in the morning. Okay? Now, a preliminary exam is an exam of confidence. If you have confidence, you can kind of sail through it because you know, okay, I answered the first question, the second question is going to be easier, so you go from there. And so it worked out. So again, it's a small incident, but what it showed me was all of these things that we learned in Swami's presence. Go within, look for answers in the silence. These are all, they make sense, but it takes a certain amount of work ethic. It takes some work to do this. Okay, back to music. So in 1998, we had a music program in Prashant Nilayam. It was done by Suresh Watkar. He's an artist, and he sang a particular abhang. And it was only him and this lady, Kavita Krishnamurthy, they were the ones who did it. And actually they were both sick. When we asked them later, when we spoke with them, they were both sick, they had asthma. And they couldn't really sing. But they sang and they said it's Swami's will, and so they sang. And when I heard that song, I felt, wow, I need to sing this song for Swami. So I took that abhang and I practiced for 6 months, 1 year. And I would try to ask Swami, Swami, I want to sing this, I want to sing this, I want to sing this. Never got that opportunity. And then one fine day, there was a music program. So we had, that year passed, okay? That whole year was gone, but I was still practicing. I practiced for an year. And that whole year passed, and then we went to Brindavan. We didn't go home, went to Brindavan, and then Swami said, we'll have a music program inside Trai Brindavan. Okay. And then I thought, okay, see, Swami has seen I worked for 1 year. Of course, he's going to make me sing this bhajan. And so the list was given out, okay, this boy, that boy, this boy, they're going to sing. But my name was not there. So I was literally heartbroken because it was hours and hours and hours of work. Right? And in the end, it didn't work out. So I remember that evening after I heard this, I went really, there's these farms in Brindavan. So I went deep inside those farms and I was having this conversation with Swami where I was not too happy with him. And I was like, Swami, what, you have given up on me. I mean, you need to be a bit more encouraging here, right? I'm doing the right thing. So I think that's where we ended. So then I didn't receive an answer. So next day, the music program was going on. And the music program starts. And so the boys are sitting here, and Swami is there. And I was probably sitting right in the back. Because I was so angry, I didn't want to even go to darshan. So I was sitting right there. And then the program happened. And then at the end, for some reason, Swami said, anything else? Right? And I thought, wow, did I hear that right? Anything else? So, imagine the last person in the audience getting up. And typically you don't get up, okay? As Kish was sharing with you, you don't get up in front of Swami just like that. It's not that easy. So I just got up. I said, Swami, I want to sing a song for you. Okay? So then he said, sure, yeah, definitely, go ahead. So the harmonium player was sitting here. He didn't know what shruti I was in. Tabla player didn't know what I was singing. But when I started singing, Swami took the talam from that. There was one boy there, and he started playing. And he played exactly in the same beat that I was singing, way at the back. And to me, the lesson that I learned from that was, there's a saying in Hindi, right? Bhagwan ke ghar mein der hai, andher nahi hai, right? Which means you wait, but it's not an endless wait. So if you put in that work, it all works out in the end. So I thought, maybe instead of me just sitting here and talking about all of these heavy philosophy about quest of the self and so forth, we'll make it an event where almost I'm sharing with you like a family. And I hope I'm not, I hope I treat you all like family, so, bear with my style, if you will, of speaking. So this was the bhajan. Vittale vatsale o vitthale bhakta jana vatsale karuna kalloye I'm going to stop there. The music program, I think we're going to do this song. But that was the bhajan. And Swami was playing talam. So it was a very deep and moving moment. 10 minutes? How much do I have? 5? Okay. So coming back to the lessons that we learned at Swami's Lotus Feet. Most of these lessons are very personal. Right? Something happened to me, something happened to some other person. And so I was thinking about this. It's not necessary that it'll appeal to everyone. And again, you might not be able to picture yourself in the other person's shoes. Right? But what I have seen is that when we go out and talk to devotees, and we talk to people around, I've spent 18 years in the United States now. And I've spoken to a lot of devotees from California to the East Coast, to the Midwest, to the South. And I find deep inspiration listening to their stories. And it's useful for us to talk to our fellow devotees. Just because we were students and we got that opportunity to be close to Swami, doesn't mean that Swami has not been in others' lives. There are amazing stories. In fact, such moving stories. I know of a lady in California. Her name was Judy. And Judy was such an amazing lady, very hard life. And she found Swami through a book. And she decided, okay, I'm going to follow Swami's 9-point code of conduct from a book. And she would get up in the morning, she would put in, she would do the Suprabhatam, she would read a discourse, she would do her meditation. And in a few years' time, she said the change that happened in her allowed her to teach school in the east of LA. East LA is a very bad area. It's a very bad area. She was a high school teacher there. And she was able to handle that classroom because of all the inspiration that she found in Swami's literature. She had not seen Swami even once. And she had so many other experiences where Swami actually came and guided her. So the point here is that there are inspiring stories among all of us. And we just have to take the opportunity to ask that person next to us, so how did Swami help you? What is your experience? Just with the folks here in this room, we could write a book about all the amazing experiences that we've all had. And that's why we're all here. Why would you waste a perfectly good Saturday sitting here? We're all here because we've been affected in some very deep and profound way by Swami. And so that's what I find joy in. If today, I'm hoping I'm able to hear more of the amazing experiences that you all have had. And I can take that back to the Boston Center and share with everyone. So thank you again for letting me go on for such a long time without a pause. And again, you have a beautiful center here. There seems like such a nice energy. And please come to Boston if you can and visit us. And hopefully we'll see each other very soon in the near future. Sai Ram.